Tom, yesterday we had Balarama Holness on. Don't know if you happen to hear that. And I played him part of the clip where you had said, we'd asked you about, what do you think about voting for these parties?
Protest
Because
parties,
now the official parties, the Canadian Party and Bloc Montréal are in. Right. And you maintain the position that they are protest parties. They will try to tell you otherwise. So we played the clip where you had said that to Balarama. And I don't know did you have a chance to hear this?
No, I did not.
So here is Balarama answering that, that, I don't know if you want to call it comment, opinion, that, a vote for these guys is basically just a wasted vote for all intents and purposes. Here's what he said.
I want to tell everyone that let's start listening to the younger generations that are putting their feet to the fire. And we've all said it to our younger generation, to students, go get engaged, go get involved. And as soon as you do it, Tom is saying, wait, but not like that. Let's stick to the old ways of doing things. And I'm tired of hearing these old political pundits trying to protect the old guard and the old institution. How about we give a chance to the next generation of young leaders to actually represent our voices with some energy at the National Assembly?
Okay. There you go. What do you think?
Well, I think that Balarama, like anybody else who decides to run in politics, should be congratulated for being engaged, for deciding to be part of it. The point is, though, does Balarama Holness have more of a chance than he did in the municipal election to actually win a seat? And I think the answer objectively is no. It's not a question of being against him, by the way. Every time I've spoken to him, he's a very engaging fellow, and I really do enjoy talking to him. But at the same time, given the fact that the community has been under so much duress with Bill 96, overall, all minorities in Quebec have been hit hard, religious minorities in particular with Bill 21. The question is, are you going to be voting with your heart and saying, I think that this guy says, I'm looking at Standish, he has ads saying, I'm going to get rid of Bill 96. Well, they won't even get a seat, much less enough seats to actually make that change. So I think that at the same time that they're pleading that an older generation of politicians, which I'm not anymore, of course, has a different view of things, I think that my role now is to take a step back and to say, okay, based on all the information available, all the polling available, neither of these people, Mr. Holness nor Mr. Standish, is actually going to be on the debate stage. They're not going to be key players in the campaign, and their chances of winning anything are extremely slim. So I got a great letter from somebody in the community who listens to CJD and who called himself a hold my nose liberal, a pinch my nose liberal. And he just said, look, I've looked at the whole thing. It was a mess over Bill 96, and I've tried to see if I could get in contact. He tried to contact Standish's group, whatever they're calling themselves, the Canadian Party in Quebec, I think is what they're calling themselves. And he said, they couldn't even get back to me. There's no organization there, which is my observation as well. So my role now is to analyze, to observe, and to give my opinion. And so good on Balarama Holness for going after this whole hog. I look at the results that he was able to get, or in fact not get, during the municipal election, and my observation, based on many years' experience, is he ain't going to win, and he's certainly not going to win enough seats to make any difference. So people can take that advice or analysis and make their own decisions based on that. But people are allowed to vote for whoever they want.
I find it very interesting, just their reaction to you, Tom. Like, why do you think these two young politicians are so irked by you? I mean, you're doing what you're supposed to do, which is call a spade. I think it's perhaps because they were hoping for your support.
But it's not a question of support or not support. My job as an observer and a commentator based on more than 40 years in government isn't to try to support. Mm-hmm. Then you're a militant. Then you're a member. Mm-hmm. I'm not a member of any party anymore. I just look at this stuff and say, look, sorry, I watched what Mr. Holness did, that I called in my Gazette piece yesterday a crash and burn during the municipal party. And Mr. Standish, I don't know, where he gets off thinking that he's going to get rid of Bill 96. But that was the ad that actually popped up when I was reading my Gazette article online, because there's a way now to buy advertising based on what people are reading. And I just smiled at it and I said, well, no, you're not going to be able to get a majority in the National Assembly. You're not even going to get one seat in the National Assembly. But could both of these parties, or either of them, objectively win enough votes to make it hard for some other people who are in a mainstream party who could represent the community and do a good job? Would it be enough to block them and, let's say, allow a CAC candidate to get through? Yeah, we might see some of that. So people don't like being told how to vote. I'm not in the business of telling people how to vote. My job is to look at things and to try to give an honest evaluation of the way things stand.
Yeah, but clearly they think you're being overly critical of them, and they seem to take it personally.
Well, there's absolutely nothing personal in it. I said, actually, in my Gazette piece, I said that Mr. Holness is going to be able to refer to his lived experience to talk about minority rights. So that's anything but critical.
You know, I think the interesting part is, and I suggested it during the interview kind of haphazardly, but the idea that, okay, if these parties somehow manage to get together, maybe that could achieve something. Maybe one decides to run on the island of Montreal because the Canadian Party says it's a Quebec-wide party, and Colin Standish said they actually plan to field, say, 125 candidates. I mean, maybe that's not going to happen, but would that make any sense at all, Tom?
Well, let's stop at that for 1 second, right? Mr. Standish's line that he keeps repeating is that he's going to have a political offer that's going to get people excited from Bay d'Urfé to Bay Como. But he's not even on the stage. He's not a recognized party. He's not a recognized entity. Nobody's going to be looking at his 5-point program that he cobbled together with some old timers that I happen to know and who love 5-point programs. And, you know, what is their position on any of the issues of the day on healthcare? What's their position on affordable housing? What's their position on the environment? What would they have to say about what's happening at the landfill site? There's no depth to any of this. It's a reaction. That's why it's called a protest party. And again, anybody who wants to put their name forward, they're free to run. And I'm not here to support one or the other. My job is to say, okay, what are the honest chances of these groups? My sincere evaluation, based on many, many decades of experiences, that none of them is going to win.
All right. I want to move and shift to something else. I saw this and I thought this would be great. So Pierre Poilievre, who now apparently is being charged by Patrick Brown with having, misled, I don't know, or inflating numbers in terms of who's buying memberships, whatever. This is now old news. They're both accusing each other. But did Pierre Poilievre yesterday stand up in the House of Commons and suggest a new approach, that the pay-as-you-go approach as far as government spending is concerned? Have you seen this?
Yeah, and I think that what he's essentially saying is that governments should stop racking up huge deficits. And there's a lot to be said for that. As a general principle, governments shouldn't spend more than they take in, and they shouldn't be taking in more than what they need to provide the services of government. So we've seen, here in Quebec, we've got the highest taxes in North America. We pay far too much in taxes. Dominique Anglade actually got ahead of the issue when she launched her campaign. She made that her top line. And it's interesting because it's very hard to do this to Legault, but she's actually made Legault play catch-up. Now, every time he does a press conference, the journalists are saying, but the Liberals are promising tax cuts. Don't you think it's about time you did that? Because you keep handing out checks of people's own money. But why don't you just stop taxing so much? That's the only reason you have that extra $500 to give back to people, because you took too much in taxes in the first place. So if that's what Pierre Poilievre's main point is, then it's okay. There's also another basic principle that with regard to government services, whether it's hydro or anything else, it's the user who has to pay, the same way that it's the polluter that pays. These are basic principles of sustainable development. I'm not sure that that's where Mr. Poilievre is going, because this is the same guy who, of course, was touting Bitcoin, which has dropped, 54% since he first made that suggestion. I'm glad he's not a financial advisor anyway.
The part that I thought, because it seems almost too facile, right? It's saying you can spend money as a government as long as you take it out of something that's already there. So no new money, because that just doesn't make sense anymore. But, I mean, that's such a short-sighted view, isn't it?
Well, I think he's trying to get people to understand that governments, every time something goes wrong, Pearson Airport shuts down, 600 more employees.
Sure.
It seems to be the number, 600 new employees for screening at Pearson only. And then something's gone terribly wrong at the passport office. It's called incompetence and mismanagement. So what are they doing? And it was interesting because Karina Gould yesterday had her answer ready. It was 600 new employees. So what he's trying to say is, of course you have to deliver passports. Of course you have to have airports that function properly. But before you decide that you're going to add all this new stuff, take a good look, do a proper program review of what you're doing already, and if you're not doing it well, or if it's wasteful, or if it's not a useful program, have the courage to say that we're going to get rid of this. The Americans have something called a sunset clause built into most legislation, and every 5 years or so, you have to sit down and you have to look at whether or not you want to continue with this regulatory scheme or this government body. That's the type of approach I believe that he's trying to put forward.
But how would that have worked in the middle of a pandemic? Government was sending out checks to everybody just to help Canadians get by. If you had this sort of policy, no one would have gotten money.
No, you're completely right, and that's why it doesn't work in the case of a pandemic. But I'm not convinced that that's where he was going either, because you're taking the most exceptional case we've ever seen in the history of the country, where millions of people were turfed out of their jobs overnight. And I'll go back to the 2008 market crash. There was a really terrible crash and recession in 2008. It hit hard. And who was in power? Uncle Scrooge, Stephen Harper. And what did he do? He racked up the largest deficit up until that time, the largest deficit in Canadian history, despite his conservative financial ideology. So I don't think that anybody looking at a situation like the pandemic and millions of Canadians losing their jobs overnight would want to go back to the 1920s.
Fair enough. All right. Tom, that's it. Thank you.
Well,
by the way,
that's more than it.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? Right. You're done as of today or tomorrow?
Today's
it, huh?
Our last chat until August 22nd. So you guys have a great summer.
You
too.
The deal is, if something really, really big happens, then I'm not really far away, and I'll be easy to get in touch with, and we'll be able to talk about it. But other than that, I'll be back on August 22nd. We'll start talking about the provincial election.
Oh, I can't wait.
And the Conservative Leadership Convention, too.
Of course.
Yeah. Are you going to camp this year, Tom?
We've moved out of the city. So our house, and I'm doing air quotes, our house is a very small stone's throw. Like, we're literally on the water. I mean, we've got a really great place. We're in the woods. We're near a pristine lake.
Wonderful.
And this is home. Our kids and grandchildren all live in the country as well.
That's great.
Summer camp all the time.
We live dans le Québec profond.
That's great. Let us know when we can take a drive up there, okay?
Anytime.
All right.
Have a great summer, Tom.
See you later, Tom. Have a good summer.